My arse. Alright, what's up my guys? It's the Khaiza, and I'm back for another Khaiza Dojo. I'm not gonna go through the usual like riffraff of like me usually saying, you know, oh my god, it's been so long since the Khaiza Dojo, because I feel like that's like a run-on at this point, right? So let's just like skip the play-by-play, let's skip the foreplay, and let's get to the meat of things, right? This is another lepisode, right? I don't know what lepisode it is, but it is a new one. It is a new lepisode. We haven't done these in a long time, right? The last one we did was the Smash one, and I've been thinking of like a few ideas of like what to make this new episode, but I feel like we have an idea of what to say, what the topic is. And so we're just gonna be talking about this in like kind of like full length, right? And not like because you know it's just like me solo, right? I don't think there's like any special guests like the Smash one, right? I had to like think of one where we have to like get everybody like in for like a unanimous like game or something. Like, you know, Smash Brothers collectively brought everybody in. We gotta get something for like Tekken or Soul Calibur, like the 3D fighters, right? The 3D fighters would be something pretty spectacular, right? But today's episode will be about, what shall we name it, right? We shall name it Toxicity of the FGC, right? The fucking face value of FGC. And the reason why I say like toxicity, right? It's because of like a funny ass article that like came out in the FGC news forum, right? And of course we have discussed this on like a stream a few while back. I did talk about like this certain event, but it was kind of like very loosey-goosey, like it was not very constructed well. So hopefully by this video that we'll be doing, this Khaiza Dojo that we'll be doing, it'll be a little bit more solidified and not just like over the rails and just me blabbering out of my own ass. Maybe like, you know, usually I'd like tend to do that, but I like to be like a little bit more constructive and a little bit more structured, you know what I mean? So this topic relates to like a certain article that came out from the FGC community, and that is, you know, this, right? This happened quite like last week, I would say. Last week. This is about, right, headlines, a pro Tekken player by the name of Emily, released by our sponsor and banned from tournament circuit for use of discriminatory slurs, right? For those that may be familiar with, that's what's up, but you know, I'm not familiar with her, but she is apparently a professional Tekken player, right? She is a transgender streamer, 22 years old, right? Done many like offline tournaments. Oh no, she competed in Frosty Faustings, which is what it says right here, and in Texas Showdown in April, right? However, I think it was like a week ago, like I think around the same time that this article came out, or a few days before, right? That here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. The FGC, right, has a wide like fantastical like color spectrum of players. You have your red, you have your blues, you have your yellows, you have your oranges, you have your greens, you have your blues, you have your purples, and you have your all those different stuff. You can even have like magenta or cyan players, right? Let's go on the rails of like the fucking rainbow spectrum. But and of course that makes, you know, the FGC, or in a more general sense, any community, all the more worth it, because you get a lot of like different perspectives, a lot of different viewpoints and opinions, right? But then you have like sort of like the reds, or like the blood reds, you know, if I were to like call them that, and that's usually categorized to the very like salty fucking players, or you know, the very unbecoming type of like person that you are, kind of like, you know, low tier god or some shit like that. You know, not that I'm like, you know, it's rude of me to like diss anybody even though I don't like know the person, but you know, based on like what I'm hearing or like from like YouTube or shit like that, and how they just like say shit or just like salty, is just like, nah, I don't know about this. I don't know about this person, right? Yeah, so I can't pull up like the original article because it's very like offensive, and I don't want to like show that. Otherwise, you know, YouTube might get like flagged for that, or like some video like content. But let's just say, right, a few days before that that ban on professional player Emily Brooks, right, was placed on her. She was playing like a few matches, you know, like online, as what fighting game people do, right? And she was getting mad salty. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, please, right? Because I don't have like the full like knowledge of like said event. I just know like bits and pieces here and there. But she was like playing against someone, and she just called like so and so person like, you know, an N-word, or like the hard R, or you know, the F word, right? And you know, and then the response was like, get good, and then escalated it to like, you know, booking Emily, just like riding on his ass, right, with just like mean comments on like Discord or SMS, you know, some shit like that. And you know, this is what I really like don't like about, well, part of me of what I don't like about like FGC, or in a sense, right, let's go with in a sense, any general like community, because like you kind of have these like people, well, let's be more specific on like the FGC, right? Let's screw like general communities, right? Let's just focus on like the FGC. You sort of have like these people that, you know, that are down to like play a game with you, that can like enjoy a game with you, but then when it gets to a certain degree, right, when it gets to a certain degree of just like, you know, a scream fest, or like a fucking like rage, or like salt inducing, and then subsequently afterwards then you just call each other like N-words or F-words, then it becomes like then it becomes very like disappointing or like disheartening to see, right? I mean, you know, from a audience standpoint, we kind of instinctively like love like the drama, or like just like these people just like going back and forth, because you know, it brings out like an innate funniness in us, right? Whenever we see low tier god just like yelling or like screaming, it's like, aha, he's funny, but then he's funny, but you know, for all the wrong reasons. But then for me, it's just kind of cringe just to like, you know, see that as like a fighting game player who is, you know, enjoying the game, right? Is having a good time with said fighting game, right? And all of a sudden you just get like these like different like peoples that have like, you know, well, I wouldn't say cheap strats, but you know, there's a whole lot of like random people that like have different like play styles and different mindsets. So you have like the randos, like the turtlers, the teabaggers, right? Where's my controller? The mash your face on like a controller sort of shit, right? And wait. And then for the person that is on the receiving end of such person, right? Of such person, it can be kind of very tilting, because they're not technically like doing anything like cool, or like, you know, doing anything like fancy. They're just getting away with like one trick ponies. And for the other end, it just feels kind of rough, because it feels like you're not like doing anything. You're not like approaching, you're not figuring that person out. You're just in the moment reactionary, just frustrated of how can I like get in and what can I do to like stop it, and it feels like you have like no answers. All you can do is just like yell and like scream, right? And granted, right, I'm sort of like a victim of that, right? You know, if anybody has seen me on my streams, on my khaizakahn stream, don't forget to follow and subscribe. But, you know, I get like a total fucking like scream fest when it comes to like playing my favorite fighting games like Guilty Gear, KOF 15 recently, and then there was like, I remember there was also Power Rangers I also got mad at because there was also like sweaties that are like occupying in there and characters just doing like crazy ass like mix-ups and shit. But anyway, I get like super triggered of like people just like, you know, hitting buttons, you know, like not respecting, not giving me any like, you know, just like randos being randos, right? And I get like kind of pissed. It's natural to feel like a sort of like angry, like aggression, you know, sort of thing. And thank God that I have like, you know, like a supportive like group of people that I could just like talk to, you know, including mom as well, right? Because mom is also a good source of like just like, you know, internalizing your anger. But thank God I have like a supportive group of like homies that like, you know, can cheer me on and just like, you know, get me through the worst of things, right? I get like so fucking upset. It's just like things that don't make me not want to like play the game, right? Because of like this like anger, this like stress, this anxiety, this are preventing you from like not doing anything, right? If you play like consecutively for so long and trying to like get that dub, it sort of like feels miserable because you can't like get that dub, you can't get that W when playing because you're just so focused on like one past match or a certain element of a past match, and you can't like get over that and you can't like move on, right? I get that feeling like all the damn time whenever I play like a fighting game, and I'm like trying to get better at it. I swear to God, I'm like trying to get better at it, but every now and then it just like certainly like creeps up from the back of your mind to the crevice of your eyes and just like ruins your day, right? It's sort of like a bad habit that I have, and it just, I kind of want to make it go away, but again, it doesn't feel like it's not going away anytime soon, right? And, you know, it sort of like cringes me out whenever I see myself screaming or raging, and like I make it a point to not include like the rage-inducing like things that make up my streams when playing fighting games, and just focus on like the parts where I'm kind of like just mellow, just chill, just, you know, focusing on everything else, or like focus on like the good matches, even the times when I lose, focus on like the good matches that, you know, don't literally raise my fucking vocal cords, you know, because it's just like how it is for me. Like I hate like cringy fucking salty like matches, like, right? I see a lot of that in like Smash compilations when like players are like throwing down like controllers and shit like that. I see that in like FGC highlight reels when people are like mad salty, they disconnect the controller and like throw the controller, or even worse, like throw a fucking like arcade stick. I'm like, that's a lot of dollars being invested on like those controllers and arcade sticks, my guy. Like that, they do not come cheap. They do not come cheap. And albeit, you know, the normal reaction would just be like, you know, say it's just a game, right? But, you know, can't really say that to like FGC like players, right? Can't say that to a fighting game like player, because, you know, it's sort of fighting game players sort of like melds like this certain dogma or like this pride, right? Let's go with like pride. It sort of is like this like pride thing that that sort of fighting game players like have, right? And they can't like let go of that, right? We're very like a stubborn, like proud race that, you know, we as a fighting game community, and I as like a fighting game player, are like skilled enough to actually like play this game, and all the regular like casuals, this is just like me, you know, talking ad-libbed out of my own ass, right? we are much more skilled than like the average Joe. We take time with figuring stuff out in said fighting game. We figure out combos, we figure out hitboxes and hurtboxes, frame data, all that stuff. We are like a superior race, right? At least like that's how it feels as part of like the FGC, and we kind of like gatekeep anyone else from playing the game. And if some person gets online and just like, you know, has a laggy connection, or, you know, mashed their face on the controller, or just being like random as fuck, or just being like random turtley as fuck, you know, preventing you from like playing, then it sort of, you know, damages like your pride, because this character is barely like doing anything, right? Whether it be pro or like a filthy scrub casual, right? The player is not really doing anything, and it's just, you know, just doing shit because that's like either his or her first time playing, or is very experienced at the matchup, and you can't possibly do it, right? They're just like poking you out with lights. They're doing like crazy like cross up mixes. They're doing all that stuff, and you're just like figuring out what to do. You're just figuring out what to do, and the reaction comes late until you like lose the match. And then you go for like constant rounds, like runbacks, like you run them hands, and you know, you're not learning. You're just being mentally frustrated. You're physically and mentally frustrated, and it's like your 10th loss, and you just want to like get that dub, and you just want to win. You just totally want to win. It's understandable that like you want to like have a dub. You don't want to feel shitty when you like lose, like, cause it's hard being like the better man. It's hard being the better person when you're at like a constant losing streak, and what you have to deal with is like just learning from your losses. And it's hard to like actually learn from your loss, right? Because you want to take away something that you feel good to like win about, and that's a naturally like good feeling, right? That's a natural good feeling that everybody like almost gravitates towards to. Nobody likes to feel like they lost, or like, you know, are like down in the dumps. People want to feel like, you know, they're up, they're happy, right? I most certainly want to be like happy all the time. I mean, like my real name, Farhan, in Arabic means happy, so I attune to like be more happy, right? I like to be more happy than the average bear, because it feels sort of shitty when you feel the opposite of that. When you have like already people in the fighting game community that are like professionals, that are playing fighting games like almost 24/7, right? They live and breathe this shit. I most certainly do, right? Because that's like my vested genre of interest, right? I love fighting games. I've been born with this shit, right? Even though I don't collect most of it because I have other likes like Power Rangers and stuff like that, or like my Kamen Rider things in the background there. But I do love fighting games. I feel like it's a passionate genre for me. And when you have people that, you know, scream their fucking lungs off and are salty, and, you know, just have people that are absolute fucking like shitbags, right? That like sponsor your FGC, like sponsor your fighting game community, or sponsor this fighting game. It puts a very dim light on not just the FGC, but on fighting games more than it already has. You know, we can have like more toxicity, more barriers of entry for this like for these like fighting games and the FGC, because of people like them, right? And because of people like this, right? I mean, granted, of course, I do not know on like a personal level, or like a very intermediate level, like for example, right? For example, Emily Brooks, or some of the other like Tekken players out there. I do know of Arsalan Ash, because I do love me the Middle East rep when it comes to like FGC. It's hard to like get something of your own like culture and background into something more video game related. Usually when it comes to like us brown boys, or we're usually relegated towards like one or two things, and it's usually the common standard, which is like cars and hair and like sports and all that stuff. Never about fighting games, never about anime, right? I would love to like meet some people that are in the other outside realm of, you know, just cars, sports, and hair, right? You know, like, I don't know Emily Brooks that well. I just only like heard of this like article, and she was like mentioned in that article. But, you know, when you cross like the line of, you know, just being overtly aggressive, and that really sounds like an aggressive tone, right? Because once you like start saying like N-words and F-words, then you start to be a little bit hostile, and everything is like recorded, everything is online, everything is streamed, everything is YouTubed, and whatever you say will have not just like an impact on yourself, but also those that are around you, that like support you, right? I mean, you know, fuck, if you say like one N-word or F-word like once, then your ass is like gone. You could say like you're sorry, but that's also another thing, right? Saying sorry, right, if you like committed an offense is okay. But after that sorry, if you start repeating the process of just, you know, saying the N-word or the F-word after that sorry, it feels like you haven't learned your lesson, and sorry is not gonna cut it, right? You have to do something about yourself. You have to do something about yourself in order to become like a better person, to become like the better man or woman, right? It's sort of like thing, yes, understandable. Emotions do rise. Emotions do like take over your body and soul, and you know, those things like genuinely happen, right? Again, I'm a victim of that as well, you know, right? I scream, I rage in my fighting game streams, right? Because like, I don't like not doing anything. I would like to do something. I would like to take a win instead of just being locked down, or, you know, just being zoned out by a lame person, right? Or just, you know, having constant L's in my fucking stream and not making any progress. I would like to like win once in a while. But the reality is that you are going to be facing a lot of different people, right? And if you are an FGC content creator, right? You are live. You are live in person, and excuse me, you are showing your best foot forward, best attitude forward, and broadcasting yourself and showing this game to other people. And as a core of an FGC content creator, you want to get more people playing fighting games the same as you, and that's the first and foremost like mission, right? Again, fighting games are very niche. They have a low crowd. They don't have something of a AAA budget game. It takes a lot of like cajoling to get like a person to get into a fighting game, and once you get that person in, man, it feels good. I want them to like I want more people to get into fighting games. That's the main job. And if you start screaming or raging, right, then the general crowd will get like the impression of you that like, oh, fighting games are hard, right? It brings out the worst in a person. I'm not gonna play this game. Screw that, man. I'd rather play like a game whose community has like a solid background check and is actually a decent person. And fighting games, you know, they are sort of like categorized as like a very toxic crowd, right? Which obviously, of course, that's like bullshit, right? Because, you know, now we can like talk about like the general like other communities, right? Because if I were to like do like a compare and contrast, right, you know, anime communities I think are like kind of like toxic, because everybody's like, to me there's always like a person that's a stuck up like know-it-all and knows everything about a certain anime and will just like will just like, you know, yell or scream fest at people and say like, my anime is way better than yours, has a solid story and whatever, and it's just like, that kind of like ruins it. But then everybody loves anime, so who am I to like say that like, you know, anime communities are like, you know, bad. Every community in general has always this like person that is a fucking salty bitch, or like a prideful bitch, or any bitch that just again, crossing the line of saying like N-word to F-words. If you cross that line, then you are not representing your community very well. You are not representing the anime very well. You're supposed to be supportive, you're supposed to be insightful, and just, you know, just help people out, right? Just help people out. That's the idea of a community. But once you start digging your head up your ass about like pride and ego, and once you start attaching those core values to your own persona, and just like scream festing or forcing everybody to like your game, or, you know, that all that sort of shit, right? Then of course you are not doing the job that need to be done, and that's, you know, spreading the thing that you like in your community in a favorable limelight. That's all, right? That's all that we want. That's all that back to like fighting games. That's all what fighting games want, is to like, you know, be in a better light, be in a better crowd. Because in the recent years, right, we've always have like this sort of impression about fighting games that there's always like the blood money matches between players, there's always like the shit talkers, there's always like the fucking competition, and most of the time we relegate towards the fucking drama of the FGC, and that's what gets like the attention. But no, it's not that. It's the other things that make up the FGC all the more worth it. It's the supportive community. It's like people actually showing other players to get into fighting games, or like showing like hitboxes and earthboxes, all that stuff. That's what to me makes up a good, splendid like FGC community. An ideal FGC community is just to be like supportive, and just to like help each other out in times of need, in times of all that stuff, right? And hopefully we will get there one day, but it feels like after with this like Emily thing, I feel like we haven't learned our lesson of just being like the better person, and, you know, all that stuff, right? I feel like we got a long ways to go. It's possible, right? It's possible to be a better person, and, you know, play the games that you want to play without being attached to your pride and emotions. But we are human. We are fucking Homo sapiens. We do not like to be tilted. We do not like to be angry. We do not like to be salty. We like to be happy, and things go our way. We do not like it when things prevent us from doing things what we love and want. We do not like to be kicked to the curb a lot. We like to like come out on top. We always like to come out on top. That's like the sort of like dogma. It's sort of like dogma, if I want to like insert like dogma into this like phrase. Yeah, but maybe it will take us like 10 more years to like finally understand that, but I don't think we'll understand that very well. The values of like, you know, humility, that it's okay to lose. You are learning as you are losing. It's okay to there are people like that do that. It's just that if you get matched up with them, don't try to like do it. Just focus on like something else. Divert your mind to something else, right? And that's what is most important, right? Is to just like take like, even though it's impossible for us, right? Especially whenever we get into online, take a break, like walk around, right? Even though that's kind of bullshit, and, you know, especially from like when you hear that from your parents, right? Especially more because like you can't pause an online match. You can't, you would have to like finish the match and let it done be done, right? And you want to like get that W, of course. But you don't understand the benefits of just like resting your mind, taking a deep breath until you actually do it yourself, right? Like I said, I'm very lucky to have like a homie who would be supportive to the streams and be supportive to the Khaiza, that tells me to like, you know, take a deep breath, relax, you know, and of course mom as well. Walk away, you know, internalize, let go, and just like focus on something else, right? The best thing that you can do is to like, you know, just take a breather, relax, just like chill or mellow out. Don't try to be stubborn and just like practice all the way long until you feel like you don't like the game, because that's another thing, right? Once you start playing, once you like a game and if you play the game long in more hours than necessary, it's gonna feel like, man, I don't like this game anymore. I'm finding faults in this game. I don't like to play this game anymore. I especially felt that way with Samurai Showdown, and now I don't like come back to it. It's a fun game. It's a fun, solid footsie-based fighter. I don't like the online. I don't like the meta. I don't like everything about it. Even though I have a physical copy of it. I have 2 physical copies of Samurai Showdown. One on the PS4 and one on the Switch. I don't like playing either or because of the online. And of course, the general playstyle. But yeah, like, if there's like a lesson to be taken away from this, right? Just like, you know, be better people. Because again, it sort of feels cringy, it sort of feels like disheartening to see like rage matches, compilations of people just like screaming their fucking lungs out, throwing down controllers, and it just sort of feels like wrong. I sort of get like this like innate wrong like feeling that this is not very professional, this is not very dignified to see like a person up on stage and just, you know, raging or just sweating or just like tossing out chairs. It's very unprofessional. Like for the Emily thing, it feels sort of shitty that she has this like ban on her, this suspension on her, but you know, I don't want to, you know, throw ill or shade at her, right? Because again, I don't know this person, right? But I hope she takes this lesson into account and, you know, be a better person, right? That's all, right? I just want people to like, you know, fix themselves and like become better. It's like part of like my tutor job, right? Like I want to see people like improve upon themselves and be and get those like A pluses in term, not just in terms of like, you know, grades and statistics, but also in overall well-being, or just like, you know, be happy. I like seeing other people be happy, right? I like seeing myself be happy, but I also like other people be happy with the things that they like to do. You know, it brings a sort of like satisfaction, right? Sort of like me helping them out, and of course them helping me out. It sort of brings like that satisfaction. I think I've like talked about it enough, but yeah, that's it for today's Khaiza Dojo, right? Hopefully I was very clear with my words and phrases and enunciations, right? Again, even though like I always say, I try to be constructive and structured with my sentences and my thoughts, you know, things just like kind of go out of hand and you just sort of like ad-lib, go with the flow, right? And that's kind of like, well, going with the flow is kind of like hard to do, but you know, doing structure for me is like kind of hard to do as well, because it feels like you're forgetting something or missing some like key important facts or information. But hopefully I did like a good job at that. It's, you know, again, it's like my functionality, right? My personality. You know, it's hard for me to like convey my thoughts into like words when it comes to like these sort of like talks. So I just go with like everywhere. I just go with like everywhere and anywhere, right? And you know, hopefully that's like okay. Hopefully that's like a reasonable sentiment that other people who are watching this or who may be like commenting down below, comment down below on this video, can get like a similar feeling, right? I would like to like hear that, you know? Be as real as you can to the homies. Always be real to the homies, right? Anyway, that's it for today's Khaiza Dojo. I don't know when the next one will be, right? I could possibly do another like group slash guest speaking for a fighting game. Since we were like since I was like hinting on like 3D fighters, maybe I could get like some of more homies get in on the circle and talk about like 3D fighters, right? And what their different likes and dislikes are with 3D fighters and why they're drawn to more 3D fighters than 2D, right? Or maybe even like anime fighters. Anime fighters could be also like could be like a cool thing, you know? But we'll see. I got like plenty of ideas in like the tank. I just gotta find which one, and if anybody is down for like a good one, maybe that could happen. But anyway, that's it for today, guys. That's it, YouTube. I'll see y'all later. Ooh, my teeth. Teeth got cold. Ah.